the beginning of a new journey, on the distant planet of Erendor, where twin moons, Lyra and Sandor, cast an enchanting glow over the emerald fields. Life thrived in a delicate balance. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flora, and the sounds of vibrant, alien creatures created a symphony of life. In the midst of this beauty stood a modest dwelling by a crystal-clear lake, its walls shimmering with the bioluminescent hues of the native mosses. Inside Xenia, a young Endorian woman with silver eyes and iridescent blue skin, gathered with her family around a circular table, their faces illuminated by the soft, floating orb above them. Xenia was beloved in her family, known for her sharp mind and kind heart. As she prepared for the Blossom Dance, a cherished festival celebrating the renewal of life, she felt a sense of belonging and purpose. But this peace was shattered by a mysterious messenger from the Council of Elders who summoned her and her father, Khon, for an urgent matter. With a heart heavy with foreboding, Xenia followed the messenger to the imposing council hall. The atmosphere was tense as Elder Varys, a figure of authority and fear, accused her of a grave crime: betrayal of her people by revealing their secrets to humans. Confusion and disbelief flooded her mind. How could this be? She had never interacted with humans, save for the tales of their greed. Despite her protests, the evidence against her was overwhelming. Xenia felt the ground slip from under her as she was sentenced to exile. Her punishment was to live as a slave among the very beings she had been warned about. Heartbroken and terrified, she was led away, her father's words of comfort echoing in her ears as she faced the unknown. The journey to Earth was a blow of panic and despair. Enclosed in a stasis chamber, Xenia's thoughts raced with memories of her family, the warmth of home, and the weight of her new reality. When she finally stepped onto Earth, the air was thick and heavy, filled with unfamiliar scents that clawed at her senses. Standing on the landing pad, she was met by Luke, her new master, a man whose presence was striking yet oddly comforting. He was nothing like the cruel captors she had envisioned. Luke, tall and broad-shouldered with warm green eyes, spoke gently, assuring her that she was safe. But how could she feel safe when she was taken from her home and thrust into servitude? Despite her fear, she had no choice but to follow him into his modest home, a stark contrast to the sleek architecture of her own planet. Inside, she found herself in a small, sparsely furnished room. It was a far cry from her vibrant life on Erendor. Alone in this foreign space, Xenia allowed herself to feel the weight of her loss. Tears welled in her eyes as she mourned the life she had been ripped from. But Luke returned with food, his kindness shining through the darkness of her despair. Though she had no appetite, his warmth began to chip away at the icy grip of grief. As days passed, Luke made an effort to show her kindness, treating her with respect and care. He explained that while the system of slavery was unjust, he was not her enemy. Xenia was hesitant to trust him, but there was a flicker of hope that perhaps she could find a way to endure. One morning, as they prepared for a walk, Xenia felt a mix of fear and curiosity. The outside world was an alien landscape, but she knew she couldn't remain hidden forever. With each step outside, the harshness of Earth began to feel less suffocating. Luke pointed out the beauty of the trees and flowers, sharing bits of his world with her. For the first time, she began to see glimmers of hope amidst the shadows of her reality. As they reached a small clearing by a bubbling stream, Luke paused, looking at her with understanding. "I know this isn't easy for you," he said softly, "but I hope you can find some peace here." His sincerity touched Xenia, igniting a small flame of warmth in her heart. Though she still felt like a prisoner, maybe there was a chance for her to find happiness in this strange world. In the days that followed, Xenia began to help Luke in his garden. It became a sanctuary, a place where she could connect with this new world and start healing. Tending to the plants helped her forget, if only for a moment, the pain of her loss. With each new bloom, she felt a bit more alive. As their bond deepened, Xenia began to share stories of Erendor. With each word, she painted a picture of her vibrant home, the connection to nature, and the traditions that shaped her life. Luke listened intently, absorbing every detail. The more she spoke, the more she felt a connection to him, a realization that perhaps they were both lost in their own ways. Together, they forged a new path, one that blurred the lines of master and slave. Xenia found strength in Luke's kindness, and he discovered a resilience within her that was inspiring. The story of their lives intertwined, creating a narrative of hope, healing, and unexpected love, a bond that would transcend the boundaries of their worlds. A blossoming connection. As the days turned into weeks on Earth, Xenia began to adapt to her new life with surprising resilience. The once foreign environment slowly transformed into a canvas for her to explore, and each day she discovered more of the beauty hidden within the mundane. The garden behind Luke's home became her sanctuary, a sacred space where she could connect with the earth in a way that felt familiar, even if the plants and soil were different from those of Erendor. One bright morning, as the sun bathed the garden in golden light, Xenia knelt beside a patch of herbs, her fingers dancing through the rich, dark soil. She reveled in the sensations, the texture of the earth, the vibrant greens of the plants, and the gentle buzz of bees flitting from flower to flower. Luke joined her, his presence a comforting anchor as she immersed herself in the task at hand. "Your garden is thriving, Xenia," Luke remarked, a note of admiration lacing his voice. "These plants seem to respond to you." She looked up, her silver eyes sparkling with pride. "Caring for plants is part of my culture. On Erendor, we believe in nurturing life. It connects us to our past and to each other." Luke watched her closely, fascinated by her passion. "What else is part of your culture?" he asked, genuinely curious. Xenia paused, contemplating the vast tapestry of her memories. "We have many festivals. Each one honors the cycles of nature and the connection between our people and the land. The Blossom Dance is one of the most beautiful. Young ones perform to celebrate new life." As she spoke, her voice flowed with warmth and nostalgia, painting vivid images in Luke's mind. He could almost see the colorful costumes, hear the rhythmic beats of the drums, and feel the energy of the dance that brought her people together. "It sounds magical," he said, leaning closer. "I'd love to see it." A smile crept onto Xenia's face. "Perhaps one day I can show you. But for now, let's create our own traditions here." She looked around the garden, her heart swelling with determination. "I want to make it a space of beauty and joy, a place where we can celebrate life, even in this strange world." Inspired by her words, Luke nodded enthusiastically. "Let's plan a small gathering. We can invite a few friends, have some food, and you can share your stories. It could be a way for you to introduce your culture to others." The idea excited Xenia. She felt a flicker of hope that perhaps she could blend her old life with this new one. As the days passed, they prepared for the gathering. Xenia poured her heart into the garden, planting flowers that reminded her of home, while Luke helped clear space and build a rustic table from the wood he collected. The laughter they shared filled the air with warmth, creating a rhythm of companionship that Xenia had not anticipated. Finally, the day of the gathering arrived. Friends of Luke began to trickle into the garden, bringing dishes and drinks that filled the air with tantalizing aromas. Xenia's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She wore a flowing dress, the fabric reminiscent of the traditional garments worn during the Blossom Dance, its colors vibrant and alive against the backdrop of the lush garden. As guests arrived, they marveled at the beauty of the space Xenia had cultivated. She welcomed each person with a genuine smile, her earlier fears fading in the face of their warm curiosity. Luke moved effortlessly among his friends, introducing Xenia with pride. "This is Xenia, my friend from Erendor. She's going to share some stories about her home." When it was time for Xenia to speak, she felt a nervous flutter in her stomach. She stood in front of the group, the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft buzz of bees creating a serene atmosphere. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady despite her nerves. "I come from a place called Erendor, where life is vibrant, and nature is our greatest teacher." As she spoke of her home, the vibrant landscapes, and the traditions of her people, the guests listened with rapt attention. Xenia felt the energy shift, as if the very essence of her words transported them to the emerald plains and twin moons of her world. She described the festivals, the dances, and the deep-rooted respect her people held for nature and each other. When she finished, the garden erupted in applause. The warmth of their appreciation enveloped her, filling her heart with joy. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Sharing my culture means the world to me." Luke beamed with pride, his eyes shining as he looked at her. The gathering continued, laughter and conversation flowing like the wine in their glasses. Xenia found herself moving among the guests, engaging in discussions about Earth and its wonders, sharing her knowledge about the plants in her garden, and reveling in the camaraderie that blossomed around her. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the atmosphere became magical. The friends gathered around a fire pit, sharing stories under the stars. Luke reached for Xenia's hand, squeezing it gently as he turned to her. "You've brought so much light to this gathering. I'm glad you're here." Xenia's heart fluttered at his words, a warmth blossoming within her. "Thank you for believing in me, for giving me a chance to share my story." She looked around at the faces illuminated by the firelight, feeling a sense of belonging she had thought was lost forever. In that moment, surrounded by laughter, kindness, and warmth, Xenia realized that she was not just a prisoner in a strange land. She was becoming a part of something greater. She was forging connections, healing wounds, and discovering the power of human and alien resilience. As the night deepened, Luke leaned closer, his voice low and earnest. "Xenia, I know things are still difficult for you, but I want you to know that you're not alone. I'll always be here for you." His words struck a chord deep within her, igniting a flicker of hope. "I want to believe that," Xenia replied, her voice barely a whisper. "I want to believe that I can find a way to create a life here, a life that honors both my past and my present." Luke nodded, his gaze steady. "Together we can build something beautiful. You're not just surviving, you're living." The sincerity in his voice resonated within her, and for the first time since her exile, she felt the chains of despair begin to loosen. As the fire crackled and the stars twinkled above, Xenia closed her eyes, allowing the warmth of the moment to wash over her. She knew the journey ahead would not be easy, but she felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she could find a new beginning here on Earth, a place where she could reclaim her identity and forge a path filled with love, friendship, and healing. Embracing the unknown. With the vibrancy of the previous night's gathering still echoing in her heart, Xenia awoke to the soft glow of dawn filtering through her window. The sun spilled warmth into her modest room, illuminating the corners with golden light and filling her with a renewed sense of purpose. Today, she decided she would embrace this world, explore its wonders, and seek to build a life here that honors both her heritage and her new beginnings. After breakfast, she ventured out into the garden, where she found Luke already tending to the plants. He was kneeling beside the vegetable patch, his hands buried in the earth, a look of concentration on his face. Xenia smiled at the sight. His presence had become a comforting anchor in her life, a constant amidst the chaos of her emotions. "Good morning, Xenia," Luke greeted, looking up with a bright smile. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in a long time," she replied, feeling the warmth of the morning sun on her skin. "I think it was the gathering that lifted my spirits. Being surrounded by friends and sharing my stories made me feel alive again." Luke nodded, his eyes sparkling with understanding. "I'm glad to hear that. You've brought so much joy to this place. It feels more alive with you here." Encouraged by his words, Xenia decided it was time to explore beyond the confines of the garden and the surrounding woods. She wanted to learn more about Earth, its people, and its wonders. "Can we go for a walk today?" she asked. "I want to see more of this world." "Absolutely," Luke replied, standing up and brushing the soil from his hands. "There's a trail not far from here that leads to a beautiful lake. It's one of my favorite spots. With excitement bubbling within her, Xenia followed Luke as he led the way down the path, the vibrant greens of the landscape surrounding them. As they walked, she marveled at the beauty of the earth, the towering trees, the colorful flowers, and the song of birds flitting through the air. It was different from Erindor, yet there was an undeniable charm that captivated her. As they reached the lake, Xenia gasped at the sight. The water shimmered like diamonds under the sunlight, its surface reflecting the azure sky above. "It's stunning," she exclaimed, rushing to the water's edge. She knelt down, dipping her fingers into the cool liquid. "It feels so alive." Luke joined her, standing beside her with a sense of pride. "This is my favorite place to come and think. It's peaceful here, away from the hustle of life." Xenia looked up at him, her silver eyes shining. "Thank you for bringing me here. I can see why you love it so much." She closed her eyes, taking a deep breath of the fresh, crisp air, savoring the moment. For the first time since her exile, she felt a flicker of hope, a sense that perhaps she could create a life here, one filled with joy and purpose. As they sat by the lake, sharing stories and laughter, Xenia opened up about her dreams for the future. "I want to create a space where people can gather, just like we did at the gathering," she said, her voice filled with determination. "A place where I can share my culture and create new traditions that blend our worlds." "I love that idea," Luke responded, his gaze steady. "You have so much to offer, Xenia. Your stories, your connection to nature, it can inspire others." Feeling emboldened by his support, Xenia started to envision what that space might look like. A gathering place filled with colors, music, and the laughter of friends, where both Endorians and humans could come together to celebrate life. "Maybe we could have workshops," she proposed, her imagination soaring. "I could teach them about Erendor's plants, and they could show me their crafts. It could be a wonderful exchange." Luke nodded enthusiastically. "I'll help you organize it. We can invite the friends from the gathering and expand from there." The thought of creating something beautiful together thrilled Xenia, igniting her spirit. As they made their way back home, a gentle breeze danced through the trees, carrying with it the sweet scent of wildflowers. Xenia felt lighter, her heart filled with a new sense of purpose. With Luke's support, she believed she could carve out a space in this world, one that honored her past while creating a future rooted in hope. In the following days, Xenia dedicated herself to planning the gathering she envisioned. With Luke's help, they reached out to friends, sharing the idea of a celebration that embraced both her culture and theirs. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and excitement buzzed in the air as more people expressed interest in participating. Xenia felt a rush of inspiration as she prepared for the event. She began to gather materials from her garden, planning to create decorations that reflected the vibrant colors of Erindor. Together, she and Luke crafted handmade banners adorned with flowers and symbols that represented her culture, infusing their gathering space with a sense of warmth and welcome. As the day of the gathering approached, Xenia found herself bustling with energy. The garden transformed into a vibrant tapestry of color, each flower and plant telling a story of resilience and hope. She infused her spirit into every corner, believing that this gathering would not only honor her past, but also forge new connections. On the day of the celebration, the air was electric with anticipation. Friends arrived with dishes that filled the table, laughter ringing through the garden like a melody. Xenia greeted each guest, her heart swelling with gratitude. She felt a sense of belonging that she had thought was lost forever. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of orange and pink, Xenia gathered everyone together. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Today, we celebrate not just our differences, but also our shared humanity. I want to share a piece of my culture with you to show you the beauty of Erindor." With each story she shared, Xenia felt the barriers between them dissolve. Her words painted vivid images in the minds of her friends, and their rapt attention fueled her spirit. The garden buzzed with excitement as she demonstrated traditional dances, inviting everyone to join in. Laughter filled the air as they moved together, united by joy and the celebration of life. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Xenia felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over her. Surrounded by laughter, friendship, and the beauty of their shared experiences, she realized that she was not just in exile. She was becoming a bridge between two worlds, fostering connections that transcended the boundaries of their cultures. In that moment, as they danced and celebrated under the starry sky, Xenia understood that she was not only creating a new life for herself, but also inspiring others to embrace the beauty of diversity. This gathering was just the beginning. It was a seed planted in the rich soil of understanding and compassion, destined to bloom into something magnificent. Building bridges. With the vibrant success of her first gathering echoing in her heart, Xenia felt a new wave of determination wash over her. The bonds she had forged with Luke and their growing circle of friends were transforming her perception of Earth and its people. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she envisioned a future filled with promise, creativity, and connection, one that honored her roots while embracing the new. As the days passed, Xenia found herself increasingly immersed in her new community. She spent more time with Luke, exploring not just the physical landscape of Earth, but also its rich tapestry of cultures. One sunny afternoon, Luke suggested they visit a local farmers' market, an event that brought together artisans, farmers, and families from all walks of life. "Trust me, it's a place full of surprises," he promised, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Xenia was intrigued. As they strolled through the bustling market, the colorful stalls bursting with fresh produce, handmade crafts, and the lively chatter of people filled her senses. It was a kaleidoscope of sights and sounds, each vendor eager to share their stories and products. The vibrant colors reminded her of the lush landscapes of Erendor, reigniting her longing for home. "This is amazing," she exclaimed, her silver eyes wide with wonder. She paused at a stall overflowing with exotic fruits, picking up a bright, spiky fruit. "What's this one?" "That's a rambutan," Luke explained, chuckling at her excitement. "It's delicious. Want to try?" Xenia nodded eagerly, and as Luke cut the fruit open, revealing its juicy, translucent flesh, she marveled at the experience. The taste was sweet and refreshing, bursting with flavors that danced on her tongue. "This is incredible. How do you find such amazing things here?" "It's all about exploring and trying new things," Luke replied, his smile warm, "and sharing those experiences, just like we're doing now." They moved from stall to stall, meeting local artisans and learning about their crafts. Xenia was particularly captivated by a woman who wove intricate baskets from colorful reeds. "This is a tradition passed down for generations," the artisan explained, her hands skillfully shaping the reeds. "Each basket tells a story, just like your art." Xenia felt a spark of inspiration. "I'd love to learn how to make one," she said, her heart racing with excitement. The artisan smiled, inviting her to join a workshop the following week. "Today is just the beginning," Luke said, watching Xenia with pride. "You're discovering the beauty of this world and its people." As the day unfolded, Xenia's sense of belonging deepened. Each interaction reinforced her belief that she could carve a space for herself on Earth, one where she could blend her heritage with the richness of her new home. When they returned to Luke's house, Xenia felt invigorated. "I want to create something that brings everyone together, an event that celebrates the cultures of both Erendor and Earth," she declared, her eyes gleaming with determination. "I love that idea," Luke responded enthusiastically. "We could invite everyone from the market, the pottery class, and our friends. It could be a cultural festival." With Luke's encouragement, Xenia set to work planning the festival. She envisioned a day filled with music, food, art, and storytelling, an event that would bridge the gap between her two worlds. The thought filled her with a sense of purpose, and she felt more alive than she had since her arrival on Earth. Xenia reached out to the friends she had made in the pottery class, inviting them to showcase their work. She also contacted the basket-weaving artisan, who agreed to teach a workshop during the festival. The community began to rally around her vision, and Xenia was overwhelmed with gratitude for the support she received. As the festival date approached, excitement buzzed in the air. Xenia spent her days preparing, infusing every detail with love and creativity. The garden transformed into a vibrant canvas, adorned with colorful banners, handmade decorations, and flowers that bloomed with life. On the morning of the festival, Xenia awoke with butterflies in her stomach. The sun shone brightly, casting a warm glow over the garden. She dressed in a flowing garment inspired by her Erendorian heritage, its colors vibrant and alive. Looking at her reflection, she felt a sense of pride swell within her. As guests began to arrive, Xenia's heart raced with anticipation. Friends from the pottery class, neighbors from the market, and even strangers eager to experience the celebration filled the garden. Laughter and chatter echoed as people explored the colorful stalls, showcasing handmade crafts, fresh produce, and mouth-watering dishes from various cultures. Xenia took a deep breath, standing before her guests as she welcomed them. "Thank you all for being here today," she said, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "This festival is not just a celebration of cultures, but also a testament to the connections we can create when we open our hearts to one another." Cheers erupted from the crowd, filling Xenia with warmth and encouragement. She felt the weight of her past begin to lift, replaced by a sense of hope and unity. As the festivities began, she watched with joy as people participated in workshops, shared stories, and enjoyed the diverse array of foods. In one corner of the garden, the basket-weaving artisan guided a group of children and adults, teaching them the intricate art of crafting. Laughter filled the air as they wove together, each person creating their own unique piece. Nearby, Xenia joined a group engaged in pottery, showcasing her creations and sharing her stories of Erendor with wide-eyed listeners. Luke moved through the garden, his presence a calming force. He helped set up a small stage where musicians played traditional Earth songs, inviting guests to dance and join in the celebration. As Xenia listened to the music, she felt a rhythm within her, a connection to the beat of the earth and the heart of her new community. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the garden, Xenia gathered everyone together once more. "Let's end this day by sharing stories," she suggested. "I'd love to hear about your cultures and traditions, just as you've embraced mine." One by one, guests stepped forward to share tales from their lives, weaving a tapestry of experiences that transcended backgrounds. Xenia listened with rapt attention, each story adding another thread to the fabric of their growing community. As the festival drew to a close, Xenia felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Surrounded by laughter, music, and the warmth of friendship, she understood that she had built something beautiful, a bridge between her past and present, a place where she could share her culture and create new memories. That night, as she and Luke cleaned up the remnants of the festival, Xenia turned to him, her heart full. "Thank you for believing in me, for supporting my vision," she said, her voice thick with emotion. Luke smiled, a warmth in his gaze that made her feel cherished. "You've created something extraordinary, Xenia. You're not just surviving here, you're thriving. I'm honored to be part of your journey." In that moment, Xenia realized that she had found more than just a new home. She had discovered a community, a family, and a sense of purpose that intertwined her two worlds. With each passing day, she felt more anchored to earth, yet her heart remained deeply rooted in the spirit of Erendor. As she drifted off to sleep that night, Xenia knew that the path ahead would still be filled with challenges, but she was no longer afraid. She had found her place in this world, a beautiful amalgamation of cultures and experiences, and as the stars twinkled above, she felt a profound connection to both her past and her future, embracing the unknown with open arms. The winds of change. With the festival behind her, Xenia felt a renewed sense of purpose in her life. The successful blending of cultures at the gathering had ignited a fire within her, a desire to continue building connections and to share her rich heritage with her new community. She was no longer merely a visitor on Earth. She was becoming an integral part of its vibrant tapestry. One sunny afternoon, as she tended to her flourishing garden, Xenia's thoughts drifted to her childhood home on Erendor. The warmth of the sun on her skin, the vibrant colors of the flowers around her, these sensations reminded her of the moments spent cooking with her mother in their own garden, surrounded by herbs and vegetables. Suddenly, an idea sparked in her mind. "Luke," she called, excitement bubbling over. He emerged from the shed where he had been organizing gardening tools, wiping dirt from his hands. "What if we organize a cooking workshop? We can share recipes from both Erendor and Earth." His eyes lit up with enthusiasm. "That sounds fantastic. We could invite local chefs and feature some of your family recipes. It would be a great way to introduce your culture to everyone." Xenia's heart raced at the thought. She could already envision the workshop, a beautiful blend of colors, scents, and flavors. It would be an opportunity to bring people together, to share laughter and create new memories. "Yes, my mother used to make the most delicious dishes using fresh herbs from our garden. I want everyone to experience that." With their plan in motion, Xenia and Luke set to work. They reached out to local chefs and food enthusiasts, inviting them to participate in the workshop. The response was overwhelming, with many expressing excitement about the unique culinary experience. On the day of the cooking workshop, the garden was transformed into a vibrant kitchen. Long tables were set up under the shade of the trees, adorned with colorful cloths and a variety of fresh ingredients. The air was filled with the enticing aromas of herbs and spices as participants arrived, eager to learn and share their culinary skills. Xenia stood at the front, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and nerves. "Welcome, everyone," she began, her voice steady but filled with warmth. "Thank you for being here today. This workshop is a celebration of our cultures and the delicious food that brings us together. I'll be sharing some of my favorite recipes from Erendor, and I can't wait for you all to experience them." The participants leaned in, their interest palpable as Xenia introduced the first dish, a vibrant herb salad bursting with flavors. As she demonstrated how to prepare the salad, she spoke about the significance of each ingredient, sharing stories from her childhood and the traditions tied to each recipe. "In Erendor, we believe that food is a way to connect with one another and to honor the land," she explained. Luke assisted her, chopping vegetables and ensuring that everything ran smoothly. As they worked side by side, Xenia felt a rush of gratitude for his unwavering support. His presence gave her the confidence to share not just her recipes, but her culture, her identity. As the workshop continued, participants eagerly joined in, following Xenia's lead. Laughter filled the air as they shared cooking tips and swapped stories. One local chef introduced a dish that blended spices from his heritage, sparking an impromptu discussion about culinary traditions. Xenia watched in awe as the garden became a melting pot of flavors and experiences. "Let's create a dish together," Xenia suggested, her eyes bright with inspiration. "How about we combine the fresh herbs from Erendor with the spices from your recipes?" The group cheered, enthusiasm buzzing like electricity in the air. They gathered around the tables, working collaboratively to create a fusion dish that incorporated the best of both worlds. As they chopped, stirred, and mixed, Xenia felt a sense of unity growing among them, a shared purpose that transcended their differences. The sun began to dip low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the garden. As the final dish was prepared, Xenia called everyone together for a communal meal. They set the tables with all the dishes they had created, their colors vibrant against the backdrop of the garden. Xenia stood at the head of the table, her heart swelling with pride. "Today has been incredible. Thank you all for sharing your recipes, your laughter, and your stories. Let's enjoy the fruits of our labor." As they sat down to eat, Xenia marveled at the diverse array of flavors on the table. With each bite, she felt the barriers that had once divided them dissolve further. People laughed and chatted, exchanging stories about their families, their cultures, and their love for food. In that moment, Xenia realized that she was not just sharing her heritage, she was weaving new threads into the fabric of her community, creating bonds that would last beyond this day. She felt a deep sense of belonging, a connection to these people who were now part of her life. After the meal, they gathered around a fire pit, the soft crackle of flames creating a cozy atmosphere. Luke brought out a guitar, strumming gentle melodies that echoed through the night. Xenia felt a warmth spread through her as she joined in, her voice blending with Luke's as they sang songs that celebrated their cultures. The evening air was filled with laughter, music, and the sweet scent of the fire. Xenia looked around at her friends, each face illuminated by the flickering flames, their eyes shining with joy. In this moment, she felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey she had embarked on. As the night wore on, a sense of peace settled over her. She had faced her fears, embraced her past, and forged connections that transcended the boundaries of her experience. In the warmth of the firelight, surrounded by friends and laughter, Xenia knew that she was no longer just an alien girl. She was a bridge, a conduit for understanding, love, and friendship. In the weeks that followed the workshop, Xenia and Luke continued to nurture their growing community. They organized more events, from art classes to storytelling nights, each one bringing people together and allowing them to share their experiences. With every gathering, the bonds grew stronger, the tapestry of their lives intertwining in beautiful and unexpected ways. Xenia often reflected on her journey, acknowledging the challenges she had faced, but also celebrating her triumphs. She had come to Earth as an exile, but she was building a new life filled with purpose and connection. Her heart swelled with hope for the future, knowing that she was part of something greater, a community that embraced diversity and celebrated the beauty of human resilience. One day, as she and Luke walked through the market, Xenia spotted a familiar face, a young girl who had attended the cooking workshop. The girl waved excitedly, and Xenia's heart warmed at the sight. "Xenia, I made that salad you taught us at home, and my family loved it." "That's wonderful," Xenia replied, her smile radiant. "I'm so glad to hear that. Food has a way of bringing people together, doesn't it?" The girl nodded enthusiastically, her eyes shining with joy. "Can you teach me more recipes?" Xenia beamed. "Of course. Let's plan another cooking session soon." As they continued to walk through the market, Luke's hand brushed against Xenia's. "You're making a difference, Xenia," he said softly. "You're inspiring others to share their stories and connect." Xenia glanced up at him, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without your support, Luke. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." He smiled back, his expression sincere. "You have a gift, Xenia. Your strength and kindness are what truly make a difference." As they returned home, Xenia felt a sense of fulfillment wash over her. The garden awaited her, a vibrant testament to her journey. She realized that each plant, each flower, was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that life could flourish even in the most unexpected circumstances. In that moment, Xenia knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She was building a life rooted in love, friendship, and creativity, a life that celebrated the beauty of both her heritage and her new home. With Luke by her side and a community that embraced her, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that together they could create something extraordinary. A challenge arises. As the warmth of summer enveloped the garden, Xenia felt a surge of hope and determination. The community she had nurtured, rich with laughter, friendship, and cultural exchange, seemed to blossom like the flowers she had planted. Yet, just as she began to feel firmly rooted in her new life, a dark cloud loomed on the horizon, a challenge that would test her resilience and the bonds she had painstakingly forged. It was a bright afternoon when Xenia and Luke gathered their friends for another community event in the garden. The air was filled with a tantalizing aroma of herbs and fresh fruits, and laughter echoed as people arrived with dishes to share. But amidst the joy and camaraderie, a sense of unease lingered just beneath the surface. As Zinnia prepared for the gathering, she noticed a group of neighbors gathered at the entrance of the garden, their expressions tight with concern. Curiosity piqued, she made her way over to join them. "What's going on?" she asked, her heart sinking at the worried looks on their faces. One of her friends, a woman named Clara, turned to her with a heavy heart. "Xenia, we just heard that the city council is planning to develop this area into commercial properties. They want to pave over the garden." The words hit Xenia like a physical blow. "No, they can't. This garden is our home, our sanctuary," she protested, her voice rising with urgency. Clara nodded, her brow furrowed. "I know, but they see it as a prime location for new shops and offices. They don't understand what this place means to us." The gravity of the situation washed over Xenia, and she felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This garden had become a symbol of hope, connection, and healing for her and her friends. It was a refuge where cultures intertwined, where stories were shared, and where community thrived. The thought of losing it felt unbearable. "I can't let this happen," Xenia said, her determination igniting. "We have to do something. We can't just stand by and let them destroy what we've built here." Luke stepped forward, his expression resolute. "Xenia's right. We need to mobilize. If we stand together, we can show them how important this garden is to our community." A wave of agreement rippled through the crowd. "We need to gather support, spread the word, and make our voices heard," Clara added, her eyes shining with determination. That evening, Xenia gathered her friends in the garden, the air thick with urgency. They brainstormed strategies to raise awareness about the impending development. Flyers were designed, petitions were drafted, and plans for a rally began to take shape. Each person contributed ideas, and the sense of camaraderie grew stronger. "We can share our stories," Xenia suggested, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "We need to remind them that this garden is more than just land. It's a place of connection and healing. We have to show them how much it means to us." With the plans set in motion, the next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Xenia and her friends worked tirelessly, distributing flyers throughout the community and gathering signatures for their petition. The outpouring of support was heartening. People from all walks of life joined their cause, sharing their own stories of how the garden had impacted their lives. As the rally day approached, Xenia felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She spent countless hours preparing her speech, pouring her heart into every word. She wanted to convey not only her love for the garden, but also the importance of community, understanding, and shared experiences. Finally, the day of the rally arrived, and the garden was filled with people. Banners adorned the space, their vibrant colors dancing in the breeze, while a crowd of supporters gathered, united in their cause. Xenia stood at the forefront, her heart racing as she took in the sea of faces, friends, neighbors, and even strangers who believed in what they were fighting for. As the event began, Xenia stepped up to the makeshift stage, her hands trembling slightly. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation. She took a deep breath, her silver eyes scanning the crowd, and began to speak. "Thank you all for being here today," she started, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Today, we stand together not just to defend this garden, but to celebrate what it represents, a place of community, of connection, and of hope." Her words resonated through the crowd, igniting a fire of passion among her listeners. She shared stories of the gatherings they had held, the friendships they had forged, and the healing that had taken place within the garden's embrace. "This space is more than just land. It is a sanctuary where we have come together, regardless of our backgrounds, to celebrate life and each other." The crowd erupted in applause, the energy palpable as they echoed their support. Xenia continued, fueled by their enthusiasm. "We must protect this garden, not just for ourselves, but for future generations who deserve a place to gather, to learn, and to grow. Let us show the city that this garden is vital to our community's spirit." As she spoke, Xenia felt a profound connection to everyone present. In that moment, she was no longer just an alien girl who had been cast aside. She was a beacon of hope, a symbol of resilience that united them all. The rally concluded with cheers and chants, the energy infectious. Xenia felt a surge of determination course through her veins. She realized that together, they could make a difference. The outpouring of love and support from her community filled her with hope, and she was ready to fight for what mattered most. In the following weeks, the campaign gained momentum. Xenia and her friends organized community meetings, inviting local residents to discuss the importance of preserving the garden. They reached out to the media, sharing their story and rallying support from environmental organizations that recognize the value of green spaces in urban areas. Xenia found herself increasingly in the spotlight, often interviewed about the garden and its significance. While it was daunting, she embraced the challenge, knowing that her voice could help affect change. Luke stood by her side through it all, providing unwavering support and encouragement. Then came the day of the city council meeting, a pivotal moment that could determine the fate of the garden. The community gathered once more, this time in a large conference room filled with officials and concerned citizens. Xenia felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as she prepared to speak. As she stood before the council, her heart raced. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the purpose behind her fight. "Honorable council members," she began, her voice strong and steady. "I stand before you today, not just as a representative of this community, but as a testament to what can happen when people come together for a common purpose." Xenia shared stories of how the garden had transformed lives, how it had become a sanctuary for many, fostering connections, healing, and hope. She recounted the joy of shared meals, laughter, and cultural exchange that had taken place within its bounds. "By paving over this garden, you are not just erasing a piece of land, you are stripping away the essence of our community," she continued, her voice rising with passion. "We asked you to consider not just the development plans, but the impact on the people who call this place home." As she finished, the room erupted in applause. Xenia's heart swelled with pride as she saw the support from her friends and neighbors. The council members exchanged glances, clearly moved by the testimonies shared that day. In the days that followed, the council deliberated on the future of the garden. Xenia and her friends waited anxiously for the verdict, their hearts filled with hope yet tinged with fear. Finally, the day of the decision arrived. The council convened once more, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Xenia sat with Luke and their friends, their fingers intertwined in solidarity. As the council members announced their decision, the room fell silent. "After careful consideration of the community's input and the significance of this garden, we have decided to halt the development plans," the mayor declared. A collective gasp filled the room, followed by cheers and applause. Xenia's heart soared as she realized the weight of their victory. The garden would remain, a cherished space for connection and community. Tears of joy streamed down her face as she embraced Luke, feeling the warmth of his support. They had done it together, against the odds. They had fought for what mattered. In the days that followed, Xenia basked in the glow of their victory. The garden became a symbol of resilience, a place where they could continue to gather, share, and grow. It had been a challenging journey, but they had proven that when a community comes together, they can overcome any obstacle. As she looked around at the garden, filled with laughter, love, and the scent of blooming flowers, Xenia knew that this was just the beginning. Together, she and her friends would continue to nurture this space, creating memories that would last a lifetime. In her heart, she felt a sense of belonging, no longer an exile, but a vital part of a community that embraced her, a family that shared in her joys and struggles. The future was bright, and with every step forward, Xenia knew they were building a legacy of hope, creativity, and connection for generations to come.